Assalamu alaikum. All that tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Social activism is a responsibility that falls upon us all. It needs to be approached with the forethought and maturity it demands. Both the freedom and the responsibility to participate in the society in which we live, to act for social change, to struggle, to speak out for what is just. It belongs to us all. The spirit of activism must remain alive in our schools, our universities, places of worship, our homes. This is where hope resides. This is where change is born. I refer to the freedom to act. Because while we campaign, or we're politicking, we're marching, or we're lobbying for the betterment of our society, let's reflect for a moment on the sacrifices of our forebears. For they have truly won the very freedom to participate that we enjoy today. Since time immemorial, there have been those that have dared to act against injustice. In many cases, facing social exclusion, financial ruin, criminal prosecution, loss of freedom, and even the loss of life. A 10th century general emancipated a holy city whilst the blood ran knee-high to the horses. An African-American firebrand whose mantra, by any means necessary, or the ballot or the bullet, mobilized an entire generation. A lady that defied an entire nation and a bus driver's orders sat at the front of the bus. A young Madiba spent half a lifetime in prison while fighting a system of institutionalized racism and racial segregation. The citizens around the world united peacefully to exert enough economic pressure to isolate that same regime. And in Indigenous Australia, that fought tirelessly to bring an end to a 2-century-old lie, terra nullius, and whose name is now synonymous with Aboriginal land rights. These men and these women and these activists and many other men and women whose names are not recorded in history are champions of change. They are activists. They paved the way. This evening I'm joined by my fellow panelists and previous speakers who have shared or who share different life experiences. We all grew up on different continents. We're from different races. We speak different languages. Yet we are linked by a common thread, and that's our lived understanding of what it means not to belong. I grew up on the north side of Brisbane, correct? Talked about it before. Where my family were clearly and visibly very different. My mother was probably the only lady at that time on that peninsula to wear a headscarf. The school principal, a white-haired man in his late 50s, would address my mother as sister. His leadership, his honour, his inclusiveness were etched into my memory. 10 years forward, on the south side of Brisbane, another white-haired man, exercising his democratic right to free speech, abused and assaulted my mother for wearing the headscarf. That day, we had become the other. His angry demeanour and vile words were also etched into my memory. These defining experiences offered two ways forward. A choice to hate or the choice to work for change, and dare to believe in the potential of change. The values of our Islamic traditions instilled in me a duty to choose the moral high ground, and from the local neighbourhoods to the greatest offices we spoke, and we speak for those without a voice. Protect those that are bullied at schools, and represent those imprisoned for their political beliefs. Through protests, through speeches, lobbying, and even hosting politicians, I spoke at universities, I marched on Parliament, we did what we could to raise the flag of hope for all our people all over the globe that are subjected to the cruelty of illegal occupations or the hypocrisy of government at the highest levels of office. The grassroots, we created youth groups, multi-faith round tables, we worked with the police, the Anti-Discrimination Commission, we spoke at schools and walked alongside church leaders. We worked to build bridges in our own community, in our own very backyard, to eliminate stereotypes and stigmas. We did. We raised money for the domestically abused from all communities, those that couldn't afford medical treatment, not only in faraway places, but in the suburbs that you and I live in. We raise awareness for homelessness and poverty. We work on creating equal pay for equal rights in corporate Australia, both men and women. However, today, I'm active in a variety of different ways. Whilst the objective remains the same, with age has come appreciation for strategy. And this very message that I share with you tonight, the challenges we face are real, and there's no signs of them easy. So be intelligent and sustainable in your efforts, and importantly, always choose courage over fear. To the naysayers, the pessimists, and those that think the fight is over before it's even begun, let me remind you that those that I spoke about before, those successful activists that have come before us, their names will echo for eternity. They brought change in the face of impossible odds. They overcame. They, of all people, were not naive to the way the way the world works and the challenges that we face. Neither should we be. However, we should not be disheartened by the perceived growing inequality, the spectre of human rights atrocities, the change in our climate, the increasing homelessness in our streets, or the poverty and diseases that plagues many around the world. It is at these times that we may feel our efforts are in vain, but instead let it drive us. Let us have the wisdom to understand that social change starts small, gathering momentum by our unyielding belief in and firm commitment to the immense potential for positive change. We, the people, by the instrument of our creed, should never, ever lower our sights. Do not blame another. Do not wait for anybody else. You take lead. This journey is the journey that you and I will forge. Pray, learn, study, boycott, march, email. Do whatever you can, because each day brings further opportunity, further hope. That can be the legacy of our generation. That can be your legacy.